Today we're looking at a specific message, one aimed directly for parents from an educational platform. It makes some big claims about unlocking potential.
That's right. And our job today is to really unpack the science they say is behind it all.
Exactly. How does the system actually plan to link schoolwork to a child's own world? Make it, as they say, meaningful and fun.
It's a critical question because they're not just talking about cramming for tests. The aim seems to be real, lasting understanding. And yeah, they ground these claims in cognitive science.
Okay, good distinction. Basic learning versus mastery. So let's start with engagement. They talk about adapting lessons, turning math into an adventure. How does that work scientifically?
Well, a big piece of that puzzle is the self-relevance effect. Research shows pretty clearly that we remember things much better when they connect to us personally, our goals, our experiences.
So it's not just dressing things up.
No. The idea is the AI actually takes the child's specific interests, maybe a favorite game or character, and weaves it into the math problems or the history lesson.
Ah, I see. So the brain flags it as important because it's personally relevant.
Exactly. It tells the child, hey, pay attention, this matters to you. Makes it stickier.
Okay, so they get the child's attention with relevance. Then they mention turning lessons into a compelling story. How does wrapping things in a narrative help?
Well, humans are basically wired for narrative thinking. Stories give structure to abstract ideas, make them memorable. Think about it. We remember stories far better than lists of facts.
That makes sense.
And there's another layer, dual coding. The system kind of forces the child to translate abstract, maybe verbal information into something nonverbal, like an image or a mental movie.
So they're not just passively receiving information.
Right. They're actively processing it, visualizing it. That active generation really helps forge stronger memory traces.
Okay, so the child's engaged through relevance and story. How does the platform build on that to create lasting memory and, maybe just as importantly, confidence?
Right. Confidence is huge. Here, they seem to lean on self-determination theory. It's about fostering intrinsic motivation, not just learning because you have to.
Moving beyond grades and compliance.
Precisely. The theory highlights three core needs. First is competence. The system aims to build this with instant helpful feedback, so the child feels they can actually master challenging stuff.
Okay, competence through effective feedback. What's next?
Autonomy. Giving the child some control over their learning path, their pace. This is meant to shift the focus from just doing what they're told to actually owning the process.
And does giving them that autonomy help with, the classic homework battles?
It definitely aims to minimize that frustration. When kids feel they have some say, they're more invested. They even mention curriculum topics like how I learned to love curiosity. It's about framing learning positively.
Interesting. So competence, autonomy. That leads to the stronger memories claim. How do they ensure things aren't just forgotten?
That connects to retrieval practice. You might know it as the testing effect.
Right, actively recalling information.
Exactly. The system doesn't just let kids reread notes. It constantly makes them pull information out of their memory, maybe summarizing, explaining concepts. That active retrieval is what builds those strong, durable neural pathways.
Like paving a road in the brain, making it easier to travel.
That's a great analogy. It becomes the default path for that information.
Okay, one last piece. Confidence. They also hint at preventing kids from being overconfident, like avoiding the Dunning-Kruger effect. How does a digital tool manage that?
That links to the third need in self-determination theory, which is often framed around relatedness, but here it connects strongly to psychological safety.
Meaning?
Providing a private space,
Sure.
a safe-to-fail sandbox. The child can make mistakes, ask questions, work through confusion without feeling judged or embarrassed.
So they get a more accurate picture of what they know and don't know.
Precisely. That safety allows for honest self-assessment. It counteracts that false confidence that can come from, say, avoiding hard problems or just guessing. It builds resilience too.
So pulling this all together for you, the listener, the idea here isn't just about learning facts more easily. It's about fundamentally upgrading how a child learns.
Right. Replacing that struggle with rote memorization, the stuff that's often quickly forgotten, with a more rewarding cycle of genuine understanding and mastery.
It becomes a self-accelerating process, mastering the method of learning efficiently.
Yes, and once that method becomes almost automatic, think about the energy freed up. Less effort spent on how to learn, more on actually exploring complex topics.
Which leads us to a final thought. If learning itself becomes intrinsically rewarding, satisfying those needs for competence and autonomy, what challenging, maybe even intimidating, subjects might a child eagerly tackle next? subjects they might have shied away from before.
That's the potential unlock they're aiming for. Moving beyond required learning into truly curious exploration.